Everything should be going to YouTube now, and
Okay.
I'll let you know when we officially get ready to start all the other details.
All right. And do you want me to share my screen now or would you like me to
Yeah,
wait?
that's fine. You can go ahead.
Okay. All right.
Excellent. Give me 1 second. YouTube's still saying it's setting up the webinar. Perfect. Excellent. Well, hello everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today. I'm Marlena Lester. I'm the Director of Advising here in the College of Engineering. And this session today is sponsored by our Career and Professional Development team here at Virginia Tech. It's also part of our College of Engineering orientation programming. We refer to that as the Virtual Academic Advising and Course Registration process. And so if you have not had a chance to watch any of our other sessions, you can find those on the College of Engineering orientation section of our website. We have all the recordings, including the overview session that Dean Thompson and I host every Wednesday at 9 a.m. I will turn it over to my colleagues in Career and Professional Development to do proper introductions, and we'll get started for today.
Yeah, thank you, Marlena. I'm on your work. I am one of the senior assistant directors with Career and Professional Development, and I primarily work with engineering students, so that's one of the reasons why I'm here. And before I'm going to have my colleagues introduce themselves, but to kind of give you a run of show of why are we here. So today is all about helping you to start thinking about your future as an engineer, and you don't need to have everything planned out yet. I know that that tends to be the thought coming in, even in your first year, but we're just here to show you how to explore, how do you get experience based off of your interests, and really make the most of your time here, and what is our office's role in that journey. So we hope that you'll leave here today with a clear picture of what you can do now to help set yourself up for uh, success in the future. So not just kind of waiting until the last minute. So whether that is understanding career resources, getting involved, or starting to think about internships. But before I get too far into the presentations, I'll let my colleagues introduce themselves. So we'll start with Anna.
Hi, everyone. So as Anya said, my name is Anna Devlin. I am a assistant director here with Career and Professional Development, and I oversee a lot of IT, cybersecurity, and data analytics students, but also students that may be interested in those fields that, aren't necessarily majoring in such a thing.
All right, and then Janine.
On mute, sorry. I'm Janine Meadows, and I'm happy to be here today. And currently, I serve as the enrollment coordinator for experiential learning programs that are housed within career and professional development, specifically our cooperative education and internship program.
All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So what is it that our office does? We do a lot of different things, and we don't just advise students. We're going to get a lot more into our different resources. But if you're thinking about, okay, career and professional development, what can I meet with them about? A lot of times students associate our office with resume reviews, but we do a lot more. If it's career related, we probably do it. So everything from helping you explore different majors or careers, search for opportunities, practice interviews, and yes, revise your resume, and even support it as you apply to graduate school. And then if you're interested in health profession, like a health professions field, like going to medical school or vet school, we have a specialized team that you can meet with, and they're wonderful and they're a wealth of knowledge. Now, if you want to make an appointment with our office, we use a platform called Handshake, and Handshake does a lot of different things. So let's go through what are some things you should keep in mind with Handshake. You can upload your resume and indicate that you would like to be viewable by employers. And Handshake is a platform where you can search for on-campus jobs, part-time jobs, internships, co-ops, and full-time positions. You can find a lot of good information on career fairs, employer info sessions, and workshops. I will say, not every single career fair is going to be found in Handshake. For example, the really big one, the really big engineering expo, they have their own website, but most of career fairs nowadays you can find in Handshake. Again, this is how you make appointments with our office. Even if you're thinking, I have no idea what Handshake is, you likely have a profile, even if you don't know it. And then one last thing before we go on, if you haven't already, we encourage you to join the Student Internship and Co-op Network group that you can find on Handshake. If you have questions about this, Janine probably has a little bit more information than I do, but oftentimes if we get information about available internships or co-ops, a lot of times departments and colleges will send out things, but then our office will also be contacted, and that information will be shared out with the Student Internship and Co-op Network. Now, I'm thinking about where you are right now. Maybe you're thinking, I have no idea what I want to do. Maybe you really like mechanical engineering, but you're like, I have no idea what I can do with that. Or maybe you're in engineering, but don't really know what major you're interested in. And our office can help you with that exploration. We're going to delve more into these different examples a little bit later in the presentation, but we have space in our office for you to do self-assessments, major exploration, research jobs, career fields, and industry trends to really get at what's going to be a good match for you. And I'm going to turn it over to Anna to talk about our new career pathways model in our office.
Yes, so the term career pathways, I know it may not be familiar to everyone, at least it wasn't to me when I first started here either. So I'd like to talk about kind of what that is. So a career pathway, at least our office has identified 12 specific career pathways, which you'll see here in this box. And those virtually mean it's a combination of services, resources, experiences that can help you find a job in a group of related industries. So as I mentioned, for example, with mine, that IT, data analytics, cybersecurity, you don't have to be, in a major that maybe you're taking those classes, but that path overall will guide you into a career in a very broad range of IT, related roles, which we all know can be a ton of different things. So here at CPD, we have pathway leads for these pathways that are up here on the presentation, and you can meet with whichever lead you'd like one-on-one, even if you're not, necessarily in that pathway, to kind of explore your options and interests, embarking on your future career. And of course, it's not major based. I love to reiterate that. Pathways are not limited to even if you've ever taken a class in that specific industry. And up next, I am going to go over this slide. So before I kind of dive into the details, I know we're in a webinar, so I'd like everyone to think to themselves really quickly, which job title do you think matches with each of these majors in front of you here? And I'll reveal it quickly due to the nature, but surprisingly, all these job titles can be filled by aerospace engineering majors. And this kind of emphasizes that pathway model farther, you can go in so many different directions, and majors do not have to be a limiting thing. If you're interested in being a software engineer and you haven't taken those classes, but you're in an aerospace space, there are so many different ways that you can get there just through the pathway concept of everything.
Of course, I muted myself. You would think I'd be used to that by now. So now that you've heard a little bit about different ways to explore and meet with our office utilizing our pathways model, you might be wondering, okay, how can I get experience? And a lot of times people think about internships. That's the way to get experience. But there's a lot of ways to get experience beyond internships, and we really encourage you to explore the opportunities that Virginia Tech has to offer. From participating in professional organizations, Greek and honors engineering sororities and fraternities, ambassador and mentor programs, research centers or labs with professors, study abroad, which I think you all have a optional session for that one coming up. Project teams. Project teams are really excellent at Virginia Tech. It is a great way to kind of work with a team with a lot of different engineering students from across different disciplines. And a lot of times the teams are pursuing sponsorships by employers. So it's a way to connect with employers, and it's not a formalized internship. And all of these different experiential learning opportunities are great ways to network, to learn about different fields, and to learn about what do you like, what don't you like, and to expand your community. And next, I'm going to turn it over to Janine to talk a little bit about our co-op program and on-campus internship program.
I did it again. Virginia Tech has a longstanding co-op and internship program at the university. And so our program has been around for over 70 years. And actually, some of your parents or grandparents may have participated in our program in the past. So the Cooperative Education and Internship Program is a work-based experiential learning program for undergraduate students. And it is designed to help students gain practical career-related experience, which means you're getting work experience within a career field you might be interested in or a career path. Students enrolled in our program do establish a learning objective, and we ask students to assess themselves on professional competencies. And I think we're going to go through the professional competencies shortly. These are skills that students need to be career ready. And then at the end of the experience, we're asking you to reflect on your experience. You have the support of a career coach while you're enrolled in the program. CEIP is a partnership between Career and Professional Development, the student, the employer, and the academic department. It is a 0 credit hour course, which is notated on your official transcript. We do have part-time or full-time enrollment options. And so if you want more information about our program, here's our website, and you're welcome to take a look at that. So you might be asking yourself, well, what is a co-op or an internship? And today those terms are used very interchangeably. So traditionally, cooperative education is an academic program that's meant to complement the student's education through hands-on application in their field of study. Basically, it's a long-term plan. You might work multiple terms with the same employer. It sort of gives you increased tasks and responsibilities with each rotation that you go in with the employer. And you would do this in an alternating basis as far as your work terms and school terms. We do offer the full-time program where you can take a semester off, either a fall or a spring semester. You do need to check in with your academic advisor first when you're trying to decide what's best for you as far as taking on a multiple rotation experience like a co-op. Because our full-time program does offer full-time student status, but there are requirements of number of work hours per week as well as the duration of the work experience. And so as you find out, as you get to Virginia Tech and you're thinking about getting a work opportunity, you can explore what the 2 enrollment options are. An internship is typically project-based and lasts 1 semester, and it can be over a short period of time. Internships often occur in the summer, but we do have employers who are hiring students for internships in a fall and a spring semester. An internship becomes a valuable experiential learning piece for you because it provides the same benefits as a co-op where you are learning, reflecting, and making connection to your future career goals. So remember, the co-op and internship program here at the university is for any undergraduate major. So how do you get started? Meet with your academic advisor first. The academic advisor can sort of guide you to see how taking on a work experience will affect your academic plan or completing your graduation requirements. So it's very important that you talk to your academic advisors first. Then, as Anya explained earlier in the presentation, you can also go into Handshake, into appointments, and sign up to attend a required CEIP information session. The information session gives you a broad overview of the program and the enrollment options. Then after you accept employment, you can attend the enrollment and orientation session. And that's where we give you all of the details about which program you'll be put into, whether it's full-time or part-time. And we go over all of the student expectations with you and just explain what the coursework is and things like that, so you're understanding what our student expectations are for participation in the program. So our next slide, oh, sorry, that's okay. Our next slide is about Campus Intern EXP. Now, the co-op and internship program, that program is offered to students who are working off campus, but we do have a really great Campus Intern EXP program, and that is available to students who are working on campus. And so to get started with that, all you need to do is go in and attend an information session. Thank you, Anya.
All right, so as mentioned before, the term professional competencies came up, and through those experience programs, it truly is one of the best ways to develop these. But just to kind of start with that overall definition here, so professional competencies are these terms listed here, but also just kind of think of it as building out soft skills and building out that like professional personality and professional confidence. So these professional competencies are super, super important, especially in engineering and technology related fields. And it's often overlooked because a lot of these employers, they'll list the technology focused requirements or maybe the hands-on requirements, but not so much of those skills in the job description, but they're actually crucial to your success. So soft skills such as teamwork, communication, even a creativity piece is so important in these very large cross-functional teams we often see in this industry. So that's great to keep in mind. There's no peak development. You're just always working on them, always bettering those professional competencies, and they'll often lead to success. And I guess quickly, I'd like to cover too, how can you work to build these out? It's really quite simple. So always having the mindset that you can improve and you can learn is an excellent starting point, but just some examples. So internships, co-ops, post-graduation jobs, even a summer job is a great way to start building them out, along with the little things like learning how to work with a supervisor, learning how to work with, a cross-functional team or even a difficult team member. And of course, learning to articulate those skills that you did gain in your resume, cover letter, and of course, speaking in an interview. And up next, I'd like to cover a little bit about networking. So people often have a wrong idea of networking, and I know it can seem super intimidating, super scary, but networking is as simple as a connection or a 2-minute talk in the grocery store. Networking does not have to be an interview or a formal business meeting. So any type of connection, conversation, anything where you even learn something from a family member where maybe they got a new job and they told you a little bit about it, that is networking. So it along the way does build that give and take relationship, but it really is just a conversation. So when we think about people we could network with, think about your college advisors, your professors, fellow alumni, fellow classmates, current previous supervisors, and this can be in both a, professional setting, or like I said, you could work at a lemonade stand at home over the summer, and that's a great person to connect with. Family, friends, people from your hometown. And when I say that, it can really be maybe people you went to middle school with, and one of them got a really cool internship over the summer, and you might want to ask a couple of questions. So that kind of leads into that informational interviewing, which is virtually asking somebody a series of questions to kind of better educate yourself on a topic or position. And this QR code over here is the career and professional development little section online that kind of goes over some example questions you could ask and kind of a very brief overview on what an informational interview looks like. Now, with that, networking usually comes a job, hopefully. So this is just a brief example of, based on some previous data, who hires Hokies. And this is not all of them. There are actually quite a few more, but these are kind of those top ones, or, we had the most numbers here. But the ways you can get in front of these employers in your future, career fairs, Handshake oftentimes pulls these types of positions and puts them up there, on-campus interviews, employer events, and of course, campus recruiters or LinkedIn is a great way to just kind of get in front of these companies or become familiar with them. And following this, if you're pursuing higher education instead of a position right after you graduate, or whichever order you choose to do so, this is an example of some of the graduate schools or higher education some of our Hokies have taken into consideration. And of course, there are more than these, but this is a great example of how networking can be so important. You're looking to go to a different school, you may not know anyone in that city or state, and there is a huge pool of Hokie alumni just kind of waiting there for networking.
Alrighty, so as I mentioned earlier, there's a lot more to our office beyond one advising and the different programming that we do. We have a ton of resources online as well, and a lot of these are actually newer to our office. So to kind of break some of these down, as you see, Type Focus and Career Insights with Stepping Blocks, these both have self-assessments, and it's a space for you to reflect on your interests, your strengths, personality, and skills. Another neat part about Career Insights with Stepping Blocks is that you can look at the top employers for your majors as well as top job titles. And if there's a particular career you're interested in, like let's say you want to be a robotics engineer and you're wondering, what's the common career path? Is it common to get a master's or a doctorate for that kind of position? Career Insights with Stepping Blocks has that information. Some additional exploratory tools include Candid Career, which has folks talking about their career journeys for different industries. What can I do with this major? Which is exactly what it sounds like. It's a little bit more broad though. And if you want to do a deeper dive on a particular career field or particular position, ONET and Vault are really great resources to check out. VMOC is something that is new to our office, and it does a lot of neat stuff. You can do resume reviews, you can practice your elevator pitch, you can do mock interviews, so it does a lot of great stuff. Career Shift is a good job search and networking resource. And then this last one, Going Global, is really great for both domestic and international students. So if you want to do an internship or full-time job abroad and you're wondering, what are resume norms for Sweden, or what are some interviewing norms for Sweden? Going Global has that information. And if you are an international student and maybe you're having some difficulty finding positions for a particular field, Going Global has a list of employers that have a history of hiring international students, and that helps you do a little bit more of a targeted search. Now, as I mentioned earlier, you can make an appointment with our office in Handshake. And if you want to meet with a full-time career advisor, we are open year-round during breaks, during the summer. So if you wanted to meet with us right now, you could probably make an appointment with our office and meet with students via Zoom, on the phone, or in person. And then during the school year, so fall and spring, when classes are in session, we have 15-minute mini appointments, and those are with our peer career advisors, and they primarily meet with students about resumes, cover letters, and elevator pitches. And this is just a picture of our office. A lot of students don't know where our office is. We are right across the street from McComas, so that's where we are. And I believe that is it for us. So now we'll open the floor for questions, and I'll stop sharing so it's a little bit easier to see everybody.
Excellent. Thank you all so much for going through all of those details today. And for those of you who are with us, we have the Q&A feature on the webinar open, so you can type in your questions there and we'll address those. We do have our first question, and this will be directed, I think, to Janine. It says, I'm an international student. What are the eligibility criteria for F1 students to pursue internships or co-ops? And when are international students typically allowed to start working in such positions, or what are the possibilities?
Okay, thanks, Marlena. And thanks for your question. As far as international student employment, there are some eligibility requirements that you will have to meet in order to apply for CPT. CPT is curricular practical training, and you would be working with our office to be enrolled in the Cooperative Education and Internship Program. You would also be working with Cranwell International Center, and those would be the folks that would help you get your CPT authorization. As far as enrollment in our program, all students must have at least a 2.0 GPA or higher. You have to have completed at least one semester at Virginia Tech to enroll in the program. And of course, you have to be in good standing at the university. But yeah, the requirements are pretty simple and pretty basic. And when you meet with someone either at the info session or the orientation session, then we can answer more specific questions about enrollment and the requirements.
Excellent. Thanks, Jenny. So for those of you who are still hanging out with us, feel free to pop any additional questions in, and we will make sure that we get those answered for you.
And if questions come up later for anybody, we all have our contact information. I know I shared a slide briefly, but we also have our contact information on our website if you come up with a question later on.
So it looks like we do have another question. It says, what steps would I take to gain a co-op or an internship in the first year? I'm a general engineering student interested in aerospace engineering, and hands-on experience would be valuable. What would the odds be of getting this?
Anya, you want to tag team on this one, or?
Sure. So
Okay.
it does vary, and I'll let Janine kind of fill in the gaps because I know she is much more knowledgeable about kind of the inner workings of the co-op program. So in your first year, you might be able to find an internship or co-op. It's not as common, like other majors, it is becoming more and more common to do some kind of experiential learning in your first year. I wouldn't, sure, if you want to look for opportunities, you certainly can. I wouldn't make that the primary focus in your first year. I would just kind of get used to being in college and getting used to your courses. But as we mentioned earlier, there's a ton of ways to get involved. So even looking at those project teams, there's a ton of aerospace related teams. And if you look at the Ware Lab, that's where a lot of the project teams and engineering are based. So that's a really great resource. research is a great way to get involved. There's a ton of faculty doing research on topics that you might be interested in. And yes, some of that stuff is posted formally in Handshake or somewhere else online, but a lot of times you can find opportunities by just reaching out to the faculty member. And if you're thinking, okay, like how do I do that? You can meet with our office and we can walk you through that process. So yeah, it's not as likely, but I'll let kind of Janine fill in the gaps with that.
So as you come to the university and you start thinking about a work experience, remember the first step you should do is to meet with your academic advisor. And they can really advise you about maybe the best time to take on a work opportunity. And from there, then you can start exploring jobs. Like Anya said, there are many career fairs that we have. You should come into our office, Career and Professional Development, because we have resume review on a drop-in basis. And you can come in and have your resume looked at by a professional or a peer career advisor. And that will be, we want that to be the best representation of you that it can be. And then from there, you can start your job search. We have a lot of good job search resources that Anya went over as well. And then you would just simply start applying to companies. Sometimes employers are here on campus doing interviewing, and they have information sessions in the evenings before their interview dates the next day. So you might keep an eye out on Handshake to see if there would be an information session that you would like to attend if you have a specific employer you would like to work for. And then from there, attend the orientation. We would guide you through every step of the enrollment process. I act as a liaison for students in several different areas of the enrollment process. And so, it will be a lot up to you and what you're doing as far as your job search and the folks that you're meeting with to make sure that you're prepared and that you're knowledgeable about making a decision on accepting employment.
Awesome. Excellent. Thank you all very much. So the next question we have in here is, as far as potential listings for jobs that can be viewed in Handshake, I've seen that there are either part-time or unpaid internships on campus. Is there a good way to tell whether a job can be beneficial in the financial sense, as far as helping pay for rent or etc., and whether it will be flexible as it's done in tandem with full-time student position? I guess, go ahead.
So I quickly looked at Handshake because I was wondering, I thought that they listed the hourly pay or whatever the pay is. So that is listed on our website, or not on our website, on the Handshake website. And I looked at the Campus Intern EXP program or collection. So all of those have the hourly wage posted, and I believe it says how many hours a week they are hoping to have a student. So you can do a little bit of, I don't know if this is getting at the question, but you can do a little bit of budgeting to see, okay, is this realistic for the expenses that I have? If you are wondering, okay, is this flexible? Usually on-campus jobs are going to be flexible because they know that you're a student first, especially if you're a full-time student, you're a student first. But having those kinds of conversations or asking those kinds of questions during interviews or even reaching out before you apply, you can certainly ask the employer those questions. And then for something unpaid, that's becoming a little bit less common. So if there is a particular one that the student is seeing, I would be interested in hearing more about that, because we are trying to be more intentional with wage matching. If a student does pursue an unpaid or underpaid internship, we do have, I believe it's called the PROSM scholarship. And I don't know how long that's going to last, but those are funds that students can apply to if they are in an internship but they feel like it's a little bit underpaid or even unpaid and is not going to meet the financial needs that they have. So things like rent, groceries, those types of things.
Unless, as an engineering student at Virginia Tech, you really should be getting paid for your experience. There are labor laws out there that prevent employers from hiring college students to work for free, that they could hire a full-time salaried person and actually pay them for the same work. And so there's kind of a fine line there. And so if you are talking with an employer about an unpaid internship, you might want to check in with an advisor here in our office. If it's a niche position, a position you might not get the experience in any other way other than to do this unpaid internship, then yes, you might want to go for an unpaid internship. But we really like to see all of our students get paid, because we're here to support you and we want the best for you.
Excellent. Thanks, Jenny. Thanks, Anya. So the next question we have here is, I'm currently enrolled in general engineering and interested in automotive engineering. Are there any automotive engineer opportunities for internships, project teams, or co-ops available to students? And maybe just generally go back over, if you don't mind, some of the ways to search for those opportunities for students and give them a little brief information about that.
Yeah, so kind of touching on project teams first, yes, there's actually several project teams that do a lot of that. So I would go to Ware Lab. I know there's like, yeah, there's several teams that are building cars and building race cars and those types of things. So that's one option. If you're on Handshake, Handshake is the biggest way that we encourage students to search for internships or co-ops. And I would think about what kind of keywords are you using. So even typing in automotive engineering internship, and you can put in different filters. And if you start to see postings that align with your interest, you can actually save that search. So either when you log back into Handshake, you can quickly access that, or if you want to identify that you want to be contacted with new postings, you can select that so you're not having to log into Handshake every day to check for opportunities, and instead those internships and co-op listings are sent to you. There's other ways to find opportunities. So CareerShift is another good one. Networking, as Anna mentioned, and if you want more information on networking, we are glad to meet with you and talk a little bit more about that. And Janine, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about co-ops, or I mean, there have also been some co-ops with kind of automotive engineering, but Janine, if you have anything to add.
Yes, we actually have quite a few companies that work with our students in automotive engineering. BMW, Volvo, Toyota, Tesla. We have quite a few. And so if you go into Handshake and you look at collections, you can also see the cooperative education and internship collections there, and you can see jobs, and there may be some of those jobs posted there as well. But the employers that I mentioned are the employers that we're actively working with currently.
So similarly, we have a question related to metrics associated with students doing those types of experiences. Janine, it says, how do you have any metrics on the success rate of students getting employed at the organization that they interned for?
That's a great question. And I was just in an hour-and-a-half meeting prior to this meeting to talk about that very thing. And unfortunately, for the co-op and internship program, we're not collecting that data at this time. But if you go into the Virginia Tech First Destinations report, you can actually search there in an engineering major that you're interested in, and you can see if those students who reported their full-time hire, if they had a co-op or an internship experience. And that will give you a lot of information about students who have had previous work experiences and have actually gotten full-time job from that. So the First Destinations report.
Yeah, and that's on a newer space in our website, because our website has got an update. Not that students on here would really need to worry about that, but it's in a new spot. So if you are on our website, which is career.vt.edu, if you go to the About tab, and then there's Meet the CPD Team and Student Outcomes, the Student Outcomes is where our First Destination report lives. And that first destination report reminds me that for the previous question about automotive engineering, so Janine mentioned a few of the big employers that we work with. If you're wondering where students in mechanical engineering or automotive engineering, because that is now a major, if you're wondering where some of those students have gotten their first jobs, that information is in there as well. So those can be good companies to target and start to build relationships with.
Yeah, and I'd like to just jump in. It's not 100% associated with the, internship to employment path, but we have a couple of resources. Career Insights with Stepping Blocks is awesome for providing just general employment outcomes of VT alums. So if you're curious, like we mentioned before, who hires Hokies, that's a great place to look and see where maybe previous alumni with X major ended up. And also a good networking opportunity. But similar to that, we usually love to recommend checking out the LinkedIn VT alumni tab. So if you go on LinkedIn, I believe you just go to the Virginia Tech main LinkedIn page, and there should be a little thing here with, their homepage, and then there's like a little alumni thing you can click. And similar to Career Insights with Stepping Blocks, you can filter through, when they graduated, what their major was, where they live, and it gives a ton of cool info to give you some idea of maybe who to reach out to.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Anna. Yeah, that was good.
If you all have any last minute questions, feel free to pop those in. We'll hang out just a few more minutes and then we will wrap up our session for today. Awesome. Thanks. Thank you all very much for being here, and thank you for that notation there in the Q&A as well. I also really appreciate Career and Professional Development, your team here for being here today and helping us out with the process for virtual academic advising and course registration for the College of Engineering. I know this is something unique that you do for us, and we really appreciate it every year. If you all have any follow-up questions, do not hesitate to reach out to Career and Professional Development. But thank you all again for being here. Have a great day, everyone.